Let me, before we close with Superintendent Miles on this topic, Trustee Morath, you mentioned earlier, why are we spending so much time on this particular topic? We should not be here having this conversation. In some ways, I agree with you, and in ways, I disagree with you. Here's the reasons why I disagree with you. Reason number one, because I believe trustees had very substantive questions that they wanted answered based on a report in the Dallas Morning News. And I believe as long as we've got those questions, we should provide an opportunity to get the answers. But there are other reasons why I believe this conversation was needed tonight. Because I believe that we have administrators who are here today answering every question that is being asked about this particular situation, who deserve to have the opportunity to have their names or their department's names cleared. You've answered all of our questions. You did your jobs. You did your jobs in an effective fashion as it relates to hiring teachers and doing your leveling process and then coming to the board for a budget amendment. You did your jobs, and you deserve, and the public deserves to know that you did your jobs. Unfortunately, as I look at the back of the crowd, the people who raised concerns about this particular issue, the multiple cameras that were lined up in the back and the reporters that were lined up in the back left about 3/4 of the way through here. And I can almost guarantee you that tonight's stories on TV are going to say, questions asked, tough questions asked. Where are the answers? But you've provided the answers. And that happens in Dallas ISD time after time after time. We have a Dallas Morning News edition where teacher recruitment advertisements that we have placed in the Dallas Morning News have an article right next to them saying possible concerns about teacher allocations. Possible concerns. But come work at Dallas ISD. And yet, those concerns and the questions that we have, you have the answers to. When is that going to stop? That is a rhetorical question. But it's a question I ask everyone in this crowd, journalists and community members as well. I'm glad that I also see Dallas Morning News staff still here, and I see Jim Schutz here as well. And I hope that the information that has been presented to this board is reported, because you deserve to have your departments and your names cleared. And Superintendent Miles, you deserve to have your name cleared as well, because directly after that report, we had people saying, who have still said, you need to be fired for your mismanagement of this issue and all the other issues and scandals in Dallas ISD. Yet you have the answers to the questions that we're asking. So you deserve to have the opportunity to answer, even if it is 3 hours later. We have statements being made from a governing body that departments are broken. You need to do this. You need to change this. You need to have position control work more effectively. I can't believe you didn't read all the emails or the text messages or the instant messages. You are the administrators that we have hired to do the job on behalf of 161,000 students. Do the job. This job that people questioned, seems to me you did it. Unfortunately, Trustee Morath, we did have to spend 3 hours. Some trustees may still not have their questions answered. And if you don't have your questions answered by this point with all of the information that has been provided, I'm not sure if you're ever going to get your questions answered. But it seems to me that every question that was raised in an article based on instant messages from a leaked memo from who knows who, those questions have been answered as it relates to this particular issue. So I'm going to just encourage you, staff, to continue to do your job. It's unfortunate that you have to have your names and the credibility of your departments and your work. I'm not vouching for individuals who've made mistakes. They made mistakes and they've been dealt with. It's unfortunate that your credibility is consistently questioned. I ask you, and I'm pleading with you, administration, to please remain here, to please continue to do the job, because 161,000 kids in this school system need you. They rely on you. I apologize that you had to go through this, but it was necessary on many levels. Superintendent Miles, and then we'll move on with the meeting.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I want to say a word to the staff first as well. Thank you. I started off by saying that you had done a good job, and I hope most people see that you have. It is tough being in charge of departments and 18,000 employees, all of whom have to do work in order for the total picture to come together. Thank you for not working in silos. The fact that school leadership was actually listened to. No, HCM doesn't run the leveling process. They have a hand in it. Finance doesn't run the leveling process. They have a hand in it. We actually listen to school leadership most because they're where the kids are, where the rubber meets the road, because the victory's in the classroom. And unfortunately, the Dallas Morning News and a couple other media outlets took advantage of the good work and smeared mud on it. You know, yes, we make mistakes, geez. And it's a big organization. But you guys are doing the job. I've seen it. I'm there with you. I know what you go through. And so I also plead, stay with us, hang in there, and we will keep moving forward for the kids. The last thing I'd have to say, trust came up a couple times. Thank you, Nancy Bingham and Miguel Solis, for showing examples of what trust, how you build trust. Let me break it down just a little bit. If you're going to beat people up for the mistakes that they make, how about every once in a while praising them for the good work they do? We have been beat up for too large class sizes, too many substitutes, treating every school the same. And yet you see through this leveling process, we tried to cut down on that. We tried to cut down on the number of vacancies. We tried to cut down on these individual differences, or to make individual differences in schools. That's worthy of praise. We've managed the budget well. We still have a good fund balance, the money that we spend. How about praising that a little bit? That's how you build trust. The other thing, point number 2 about building trust. You can't turn every mistake or problem in the district into scandal. Yeah, I know the newspapers like to do that, but we can't buy into that craziness. If we make mistakes, we'll say it, and if we don't say it, please call us out, that's fine. But don't turn every mistake into a scandal or a way to cheat or hide from the board. The reason why Ann Smisco and others were trying to be careful, because they know if they say one thing wrong, their name will appear in the paper and they'll want to be an investigation. If I say 147 instead of 137, all of a sudden I'm misleading the board? As a community, we have to make sure we don't do that, because it's a big organization. We got a broken car when we got here, and we can't fix it overnight, every single part. And we have improved lots of pieces of this broken car. Lots. And those are never reported on, or very rarely reported on. The last thing I would say is this. We build trust by inspiring the people we work with. Leadership is about bringing people to their best hopes rather than their worst fears. As leaders on the board and my staff, That's what we have to try to do. Bring the staff, the people that work for you, to their best hopes rather than the worst fears. And if we do that, both sides, then we will build the trust that we need. And it will all redound to the kids' favor. And that's the last thing. We need to make sure that we keep focused on the kids and always ask ourselves, is the time we're spending on any issue focused on what the kids need, not on who didn't get whose love and who didn't get this question answered. That's all I have, Mr. President.